Okay, hello all, welcome. Once again, I'm going to state that this is the Start Me Up, launching a business of my own. Okay, by show of hands, how many people are thinking about starting their own business right now? Okay, wow, good. Well, in this day and age, many people are thinking about starting their own business. And some may even say that the economy has come back because of small businesses. About 50% of businesses will survive for about 4 to 5 years, okay? And 50% won't. So starting your own business is not an easy task. And today, our speakers are going to help you understand better how to start your own business. Alex, your company, Amapola, which means poppy, often names drive a mission statement or a vision statement. Can you tell us how you came up with your mission statement?
Sure.
And what it is?
Sure. So Amapola is really an homage to my mother, who was really the catalyst for me to create this business. So we're an education technology company that works, that looks to help Latino students get into four-year institutions. And we want to leverage technology in really helping parents understand what they need to do to help their child get into those 4 years institutions. So it's not necessarily working with the kids, it's working with the Latino parents to get their kids. So my mom unexpectedly passed. And so as I was starting my company, I wanted to kind of create this homage because it was a song that she used to sing to me as a child. So my mission statement is obviously to help Latino kids get more access to four-year institutions.
So that's awesome. Oftentimes, like I said, when you start a business, you'll start it using a name that means something close to your heart. And your mission statement is very, very important in driving your business, right? And usually people will ask you what's your mission statement or what's your elevator pitch you may hear. So it's really important to be able to be clear and concise about that. Dr., and please don't hurt me if I mess up your name, but Dr. Khaitsa Wasiyo, you began your career in education after being selected as a volunteer instructor for a 1994 project teaching computer programming to secondary school teachers in Zimbabwe. One of the things that some business owners may have to do is give services for free, which can sometimes be a joy and a pain because of lack of funds. Can you briefly share some joys and pains of being an entrepreneur and name 3 things you do every day to be successful in your business and why?
Sure. Oh, thank you. Hi. The joys and pains of having your own business, that's definitely there. Where can I start? First of all, it's just great to be creating and working in an area that you love. That's really important. It's very fulfilling. I enjoy working with teachers, helping them use technology in the classroom. And I get to create this digital media that they can use in the class when they're teaching and feel really empowered. And so it's very fulfilling for me. But part of what the pain is getting more clients. I've found that at the beginning I had a bit of a hard time because I didn't like sales, right? My relationship to sales was, oh boy, that's just, I feel like I'm forcing them, telling them information just to get them to do something. So I got coaching and training in marketing. I got coaching on clarifying who my target audience is. And so now the conversation with potential clients is really about having a conversation to provide value to them. It's about listening to what they're dealing with and how it can make a difference. So wherever the pains are, I've learned to turn them into, okay, what do I need to learn here? Well, who can I get coaching from? Who can I talk to? Now, what was the other part? 3 things I do?
3 things you do every day to be successful at your business.
Okay. So one thing I loved from Golden Home this morning was being mindful. There's so many things going on, so many things I want to do, so like new technology every day. So part of what I do is really taking the time to decide what am I going to accomplish today. Really making a decision, these 3 things, these 5 things, and then at the end of the day, I actually feel more fulfilled because I selected what I was going to do. On the days I don't, I'm just like running around. I got to do this, I got to do that. It's actually more stressful for me. So being mindful, taking time with my schedule in the morning to select what am I going to accomplish. And then when I do accomplish it, actually celebrating, really appreciating, being patient with, this is going to take a little more time. And I've taken one step today. And that, just taking the time to savor the moment is important. Thank you.
Yes, it's very important as a business owner to have certain routines in place to keep you organized and to keep your business flowing nicely. I'm going to ask the other two panelists to join in on this question in terms of naming 3 things every day that you do to help you be successful in your business as well.
No, Andrew.
Thank you, and thank you guys for coming. Starting a startup is definitely a roller coaster, and some of the best ideas that are out there often start off with nobody believing them at all. Nobody thinks they'll work. Everybody is kind of a detractor, and it motivates you to really push forward. And so to make sure that everybody is aligned, whether it's people that are on your team that you're trying to recruit, or whether it's your existing investors or potential investors, or even people that are out there, in the press. It's conversations. It's dealing with people, and so the 3 types of things I think that I do are all people related. The first one, I know this is almost like the least sexy skill or thing I do, list management. And what I mean by that is I have a list for everything, both tasks, and there's lots of different types of to-do lists, but also people lists. People that I need to send out regular updates about my company to. It's kind of the friends of Brainscape. Or if it's lists of agenda items for the next time I have a one-on-one meeting with so-and-so, here are the things that are on a list. So that type of people management. Also making sure that people are in the right places and really understanding, what are the skills of everyone on my team, what do they love doing and are passionate about, and make sure that they're in those roles, but also what are they kind of the only person who could really do well, and finding the right balance. And obviously not 100% of your job is always going to be exactly what you love doing most, but kind of putting the right dynamics together. And the last part of people dynamic is the vision, making sure that everyone feels like they're moving in the right direction together. And if too many days or weeks go by when there hasn't been some sort of refreshing of everyone's memory about why we're doing all this, even if everyone knows it, even if it's right there on the wall every single day when you come in, you need to somehow continually reinvigorate everybody on the team and remind them of the why. Because if you know why you're doing it, then even the most menial, murderous types of tasks still are rewarding at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think in my case, my startup is still kind of in its embryonic stage. So there's a couple of things that I have to do to stay organized. The first thing is in the morning, I like to read on what's happening in the industry, sort of what's happening in higher ed, what's happening in the ed tech world. And that kind of also gets me really excited. It makes me think, it makes me create. It allows me to I do what I do because I love to create and I love to solve problems. And so reading and spending some time doing that allows me to reflect. The other thing that, that I do is, I kind of had to write this down, is to stay connected to the people on the ground, to the people that I want to serve, which is the Latino community. So I'm very plugged into what's happening with the Spanish dominant community, with the bicultural community, so that I could understand the problems that I'm trying to solve and stay current. And then lastly, it's always, again, I'm trying to figure out creatively and with shoestring budgets how to get this off the ground. And so it's plugging in with people in my network, people from TC, people that I went to grad school with, people that I've met at conferences. It's just, even if it's just, and it has to be authentic. It's not just a cold call, but it's really nurturing relationships to one day, hopefully they'll they'll be right for, for this startup in some way.
Okay, sounds like a lot, right? Well, it is. When you have your own business, you are going to have a lot of things to do, as I call my things to do list. So, and at the end of the day, you're the main one responsible for it. There's nobody going to be telling you need to do this and you need to do that. You're the big boss, right? You're the person in charge. Okay. Andrew, you have a great blog called post that's called "The 6 Most Important Roles of a Startup CEO." And part of that blog, you talk about investor management. One big part of starting your own business is, where do you get the finance? Where do you get the money? Where do you get the capital? Can you tell us how you raise capital for your business, and how long did it take you to start to see a profit?
Well, first of all, the concept that I came up with for Brainscape, it's a web and mobile education platform that helps you study more efficiently. So you could think of it like flashcards on steroids. It's a marketplace of great flashcard-based content, whether it's for the AP exams, medical school, law school, corporate training, foreign languages, and it also allows you to create and share your own content. And the architecture that allows you to get something like that out there to the masses requires, really good website experience, really good mobile experience, with good design, with kind of the Facebook and Twitter sharing functionality. And the bar to create something that's good has obviously gotten really high the more great stuff that's out there. And so you need just really good technical talent. And you can only kind of do one thing well at a time. So there's user experience, and then revenue or monetization is almost kind of secondary for the Silicon Valley, tech funded startups. So for me, realizing how capital intensive it was going to be, and user experience before revenue, I knew I was going to have to raise a good bit of money. And being an unknown quantity in the startup world, I wasn't an entrepreneur before, didn't have relationships in the entrepreneur world with either other CEOs or other investors at the time, and I wasn't the technical founder. I had some good tech classes here at Columbia and was able to create some good prototypes, but was going to need some talent. So I wasn't able to raise $2.5 million out of the gate. I had to try to squeeze through, friends, family, and fools, as they call them, for a couple $100,000. And really, what can you accomplish with a couple $100,000 when you have a vision that is, hopefully one day, a much bigger vision than that. So you have to really set what's the small accomplishable milestone that you could really hit. Sell that vision and why that's going to help get us to the next level. So it's not profitability, and it wasn't for the first couple of years, actually, as we continued to move the milestone, raise more money at a higher valuation, at a better terms for the founding team, as we continued to build the team. And then once you have those investors, the investor list, part of the list management, make sure you know what all your investors' skill sets are. And so anytime you have a question that you think, okay, I've got 10 investors, 2 of them happen to have a lot of experience in PR, and I have a PR-related question coming up, I'm going to ask them for advice on it. Even if I know already 100% what to do, ask them for advice just so they feel like they're adding value, because there's a psychological thing that happens where you feel like you've added a little bit of value, or you've done a little bit of work, you're even more committed, you're more invested, you're more likely to invest even more money or introduce that person to your friend because you've added some work. So I know that's a long answer, but that's kind of the order of operations that I had to go through.
And how long did it take you before you started to see profit?
So see revenue, we didn't start monetizing until about 2 years in, so it was a free product. But profit is something that we haven't seen yet, because we've raised now $2.5 million, and we're spending money much faster than the revenue comes in. And that's in the tech startup world, at least in the consumer startup world, something that is expected and okay, because one day hopefully we'll be printing money.
Sounds good. Well, one thing you're going to learn in terms of starting your own business is that a lot of times you have to start the business without paying yourself first. And sometimes people don't realize that. They think, I'm going to get in, start this business, and I'm going to start making money with the business soon. And then here comes a year, sometimes here comes a 2 years or even more. And if you don't have any reserve, any money put aside, which should be a part of your business plan, you will find yourself in a hole, like I did when I started my first business, and I ran out of money. So it's really important to understand that, one, you will have to find ways to get investors and family members, like you said, people who believe in you to help you with money. And then two, you really have to have some money on reserve somewhere, helping you to basically fund the business for minimum, they say 6 months to a year, minimum. So when you're thinking about your business, starting a business, you need to have that money put aside and know that, don't think that you're going to come in and just start collecting money right away. Okay, now I'm going to ask each speaker to tell me, let me say this first. How many people look at Shark Tank? Oh, a lot of people. Wow, great. So one of the key things in Shark Tank with the investors is that they always ask, is this a business that can be replicated? And why do they ask that? Because they don't want any other competitors to come and knock you out, right? If your business can be replicated, then somebody else can come and start doing the same thing you do and maybe even do it better. Right. So one of the things when you start a business or even a nonprofit organization, even though you have to look or think about who's out there in the space doing the same thing that you're doing, or who's your competitor. So I want to ask each speaker to tell me when you were looking at your business compared to your competitors, what sets your business apart from your competitor's business and why? Anybody could start first.
Oh, sure, I'll start. So to that question, I really saw that my unique experiences set me apart. My academic training, and of course the relationships that I have. So for example, I've worked in Japan for 10 years as an associate professor, as a faculty development consultant, and then I've worked with intergovernmental organizations, with governments and academia and private sector, and in all those places generated relationships that are really at the heart and foundation of what I get to do. And so that gives me an edge when other people usually come in for the projects that I'm pursuing. The other thing is just the training and connections I've made here at Teachers College are just phenomenal. The project in Japan that went on to Zimbabwe and continued on for 10 years was with someone who went to school here. The project with the United Nations was also initially started with someone who went to school here. And then I went on, by doing the work and delivering results, I was able to build upon that and get more contracts like that. And so those, just creating relationships, doing what I say I'm going to do, making a difference for people and reliably listening has really been something I can build upon. Thank you.
So in my case, what I did was I really looked at, before I even started, I wanted to say, can this actually be doable? And so I looked at the competitive marketplace, at people or companies that were doing both in the nonprofit side and in the for-profit side that were working with the Latino community, specifically parents. And I saw that it was very, very few, and it was really nonprofit based, and it was really community based organizations that were doing it. And secondly, I also saw that what they were doing was really this tried and true brick and mortar kind of teaching and learning that was happening. And so it was being in the community. And so you were reaching limited people. You were reaching, 30 people that go to a workshop, at the end of the year, possibly you reached 150, that kind of stuff. And I really wanted to kind of be kind of disruptive, right? That's the big, entrepreneur word. And I wanted to leverage technology to be able to reach somebody, not necessarily in an urban environment. They could be living in Arkansas. They could be living in Alaska. If there's a Latino parent, in Hawaii, I want to reach you. And the way to do that was through technology. So I did this really, I'm a research nerd. So I kind of really did this very deep dive into what was in the space. And fortunately, that was again there's nothing really happening. What a great opportunity. I got to do it. And so that's how I did it.
So there are a couple of emerging companies in the web and mobile study tools space, which is a new space. You might have heard of Quizlet, which is probably the biggest one, Course Hero, Flash Notes. And so for us to compete in this space, we needed to have a good differentiator. And luckily for me, coming out of here with a background in both education technology, but my focus, which was cognitive science, we were able to create an initial product and a team who was obsessed with, well, how can we take this, the traditional flashcard-based experience and turn it into something that can actually optimize the learning process. And the concept, we all talk about adaptive learning. You can't really have truly adaptive learning until you have first broken down all the knowledge into their fundamental building blocks, which, in our case is the flashcard. And the flashcard with technology can have all kinds of media on it. It doesn't just have to be text or boring kind of memorizing dates, which we don't really believe in. And so once you take that, then each individual card can be customized in its interval of repetition based on how well you knew it. So the hard ones that you rate, 1 out of 5 are going to come up really frequently. The easy ones, how do you say hello in Spanish? It's hola, everybody knows that. I give it a 5, and it's not going to hardly come up at all. So by curating your own personal learning stream, we're really able to help learners learn a lot faster. And people who have used Brainscape kind of alongside competitors can immediately tell this is helping me learn so much faster. The entire brand and user experience is really focused on metrics and graphs and data visualizations, whereas the other ones it's kind of a glorified marketplace of download these flashcards and it's like a Word document, or you just kind of flip through things, or maybe in Quizlet's case they have lots of games, and they're great games for vocab. They've got Hangman and word searches and stuff like that, so they make it fun, and I'll definitely give that to Quizlet. But it's in no way kind of rooted in cognitive science and continually optimized. So that's our differentiator.
So one thing that came up is that you need to do your research. You need to do your homework. You need to research and know who's your competitors, who's out there. Some say that if nobody's out there, then that may also be a hint that, usually they say you're not reinventing the wheel. It's something already out there, like your business. So you should be able to find something. But then we have these entrepreneurs or these businesses like Facebook, where no one was out there, but then he was unique to do that, right? So you have to know or understand your market, right? To know, is this something that totally is not going to work, and that's why nobody's doing this in this space? Or is this something so unique that nobody's doing it yet, and I'm going to be the first, right? So one thing I learned when I first became an entrepreneur was that you do have to sell yourself a little, or maybe a lot. And at first I could say that I was a little nervous about it because I wasn't quite the salesperson then that I am now. But I had to learn over time, right? Because if nobody knows you're out there, you're not in business. So I'm going to ask our speakers to tell us how they go about selling themselves, and if they were at all had jitters about that in terms of their business and where they're at in terms of selling.
So prior to coming to TC, I worked for 12 years in marketing and in publishing. So I was comfortable in the space of doing presentations in front of people and asking for a lot of money for other people. This was different though. So the way I do it is I try to emotionally connect with my audience, whether it's a potential seed investor or it's somebody who's going to actually help doing pro bono work. Really, it's a good cause, and it's not just a good cause, and I also show data behind it, and so that's the way I try to connect.
Well, I mentioned a bit about my relationship to sales and how it has evolved. But yeah, I mean, you can't have any business without really being able to promote your business, provide the services that you need, and run a business that is profitable or at least generating revenue. So as I mentioned before, I just had to invest in getting trained, invest in marketing, invest in the public relations aspects of it, and really by first deciding who my target audience is, I was able to connect with them more powerfully. And I was able to feel more confident about the difference I made and to connect the training I've had, the value I provide to what people are dealing with. And of course, networking. I'm part of a women's business group, Savor the Success. They're awesome. Here at Teachers College and other groups, I joined various masterminds and get connected with different people and just find out what people are dealing with where I can participate. So that has made a difference to have that personal connection because the cold calling or the random kind of client doesn't often happen. In any case, when you're running your business, at least for me, it was about doing what I love and working in the kinds of environments that I enjoyed, in the international space, in education, in technology. So I had to go seek them out and find out what they needed and how I could make a difference for them.
My business is a little bit different in that we don't have clients. We're not out there selling a contract to a school or to somebody who's going to buy it from us, but rather we're a business-to-consumer digital platform. So we need millions of people, millions of eyeballs, and people sharing it. So for me, the important things in marketing are creating assets that are going to live on the web and somehow be evergreen and continually discovered through Google search and continue to pay ongoing dividends. So I do a lot of blogging, and the first reason I do it is because I like to do it, and I like to just get my thoughts down and to have people read what I'm saying, either about entrepreneurship or about education specifically. But the secondary benefit of that is it gets lots of inbound traffic and people share the stuff. I'm quite active on Twitter. It'd be great if you guys follow me. I'm easy to find, Cohen NY. And I also, I spend a lot of time connecting with thought leaders just so that when they're talking amongst themselves about, what is exciting in the world of web and mobile study platforms, if it does come up in some capacity, that I'll be on people's discussion topic agendas, and I will, if there's a head of a big organization that's going to send out an email and say, hey, it'd be great if everybody tries this, then that's kind of an ongoing multiplier. So I do spend a lot of time networking, going to conferences, speaking with people, and also I would say about 10% of my time just kind of helping others, whether it's advising other CEOs. I'm a mentor at Techstars, which is a tech startup accelerator. And I also teach classes at General Assembly, which is kind of like a university, informal university for startups. And so I teach a class on startup metrics. And most of the people in those classes are also CEOs or investors of other companies. So just getting out there and connecting with the thought leaders.
Good. So some of the things that came up was emotionally connecting. Okay, when you're selling or it's at some place where you have people who could be potential customers or clients. Okay, getting training. If you feel really that you're not good at sales, then get some training. It will help you. Okay, going to events. Okay, I love events. I think events are great. I think events are a great way to market your business. You can hold your own event and use that as a way to market and sell your business, or you can go to other people's event and market your business. And when I go to an event, I work the room. I mean, it's 90 people in the room, at least 89 people know who I am. So it's important to, get around and network and, even just say hi and say, well, you can't really be scared. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So it's really important to do that. Sure.
So I just want to add, not everybody's an extrovert. So I'm more of an introvert. But one of the things that I wanted to mention was we have such a great resource within the Columbia community. So that's something that I wanted to kind of share with everybody. They have been invaluable. The law school, the business school, the TC folks. I mean, if you're really thinking about starting a business, think about how do you leverage this incredible network that we have, because it's been invaluable for me. So, and that's, so that I don't like to go to a party and talk to 89 people. That doesn't work for me, you know? But if I can make a good connection with one or two people, then that to me is valuable. So we just work in different ways.
And yeah, I'll just add to that, that's true. Particularly for events like this, let's say you're going to an event where you know there's going to be a particular speaker at the event, and you want to, at the end of that event, speak to that speaker. So even if you just make that contact with that one person, and that's good for your business, that's great, right? So sometimes it's quality over quantity as well. Okay. We're winding down to our last question, and then we're going to go to questions from the audience. I'm going to ask our speakers to name 2 things you would tell a new business owner to do as a blueprint for success.
Well, I have a cough mint. Excuse me, I'm a little sick. This cough has been bugging me, but let me see. So, being persistent, okay? You know, Malcolm Gladwell talks about it takes 10,000 hours to, you know, become a master in any field. You know, at first it sounds incredible, but I think he's really just alluding to that it takes time to get where you're going, and you're going to hit into walls and bump into, you know, barriers that stop you. But it's really about learning what's missing. Okay, I can't get this done the way I wanted. So what is missing that I can put in place so that I can succeed? And so just being persistent and going with it is important, because it's very easy, excuse me, it's very easy to start going one way, you get stopped and then you go another way, you get stopped and then you go another way, and you just end up with 3 years of what have I exactly accomplished, right? So, you know, being focused is important. And patience. I've had contract negotiations that have taken 3 weeks. We know what we want to do, we're done. And then I've had some that have just been unbelievable. You know, there's one that started, say, November 2013. We were about to start, and then one of the consultants, there was an HR issue, so they were taken off the project the day before the project starts. So I was very disappointed. And they had to find another person. So I just had to be in communication with them, let them know of my commitment, let them know how we can proceed with the project. And eventually, a whole year later, they actually said, okay, we have the person we need, we want you to come and join, and we can start the project right away. So just patience. Andrew mentioned just every day, you know, sending out connection emails or contacts, because you never know when people are ready for you. So that's what has worked for me.
How many here have heard of the lean startup movement? Basically, the crux of it is to be constantly selling the idea before it even exists. So if you've got a company idea, you know, most first-time entrepreneurs, the instinct is, well, I can't really tell anybody, because what if somebody steals it, right? Nobody's going to steal it, and there's 100 reasons why that's very unlikely that people are going to drop everything they're doing to take your idea, which probably isn't that good yet. And if they do, or if they can do that, then honestly, like, you might not have been the right person to be the founder of that startup, and that's a humbling thing also to realize. So tell everyone your idea. You might find co-founders. You probably will have a lot of detractors telling you why it will never work, and that's a really good thing, because it helps sharpen your pitch. It helps you kind of realize different directions you can go. But just sell, or even, you know, put up a splash page, a web page that like advertises your product. Spend some money on the video, spend some money on ads to drive people there. Like, click here to sign up and pay. Put a price there to test it, and then when they click, it's like, oh, coming soon. Give us your email if you want it. So, and it feels like the instinct is, wow, I'm going to sell before I even have anything to sell. Do it, because you get so much data and you can really refine what the product is going to be. And I say this because I didn't take that advice myself, and I probably could have saved myself and investors a lot of money building the right thing first rather than having to make a lot of mistakes. So that's the first one. And the second one is constantly fire yourself from everything that you are working on. So as soon as you have a process for, okay, this is something that I do every week, unless it's something that you're the only person in the world that could do it for some reason, like, find a way to delegate it and get somebody else to do it. And if you're your own person right now, use Odesk or Elance. They're freelancer marketplaces. You could find an assistant from like $5 an hour overseas to $100 an hour for an expertise. But it's really lightweight. You could have somebody work on something just for 30 minutes a week if that's what the task is, whatever it is. Find someone you trust, hire them, and then just constantly delegate, because that is the mechanism by which companies grow.
So two things. I guess for me was don't quit your day job until you could afford it. Because everybody's really excited, or you're going to be super excited. Oh my God, this is a great idea. I want to do it. But I think you need to really reflect, and you'll know when you could do it. You'll know when it's the best time. So that's number one. Number two is do a prototype, and prototype. So if you've got a great idea, it could always get better and it could always be refined. And so in my case, what I did was I took my content and I went out to different communities and tested out the content over several months, and I got incredible data. And data that you're actually seeing facial, whatever, you could see their faces, when somebody's getting it or somebody's confused, and then just incredible information that from 2 years ago to what the product is now is night and day. So I would just recommend everybody to prototype.
Can I just add something? So to both these gentlemen's points, I prototype my product. So I have a product that teaches teachers 7 essential technology skills. And I did a prototype with several education students in Manhattan College. And to your point, it was very useful to see where I thought was important, what impact it had on the students, and what difference it actually made. And then I used that information to improve upon the prototype. And then you mentioned all these other resources. I've used Elance. This is a one-woman shop, so I use Elance, I've used Odesk, and volunteers, I've used interns. The other perk of teaching at Manhattan College, or Walden University. So it's just, using the resources around you so that you can be efficient, lean, and yet, productive. So that has worked for me.
Okay, and I'm going to add to say that don't discredit your intuition as you're starting your business, because there will be barriers, there will be people who doubt you. And sometimes you have to just go purely with your intuition, that this is a good idea, that this is going to work, that you're going to eventually see some money from it. So your intuition is something that as you become an entrepreneur, that you have to really tune into and understand. So now I'm going to open up the floor to questions. I'm going to come around and you can ask any questions you want to ask to the speakers, okay?
The first question really is, what qualities do you look for in the personnel that you bring on? Volunteers as well as those that you have to pay.
Anyone can start first.
Passion over skills. I would take somebody who is a 10 passion and a 7 skills any day rather than the other way around. The energy that you build at your early organization is just incredibly important, because it's what sets the culture for the rest of your company. It's what the rest of the world sees. If people are going to cocktail parties on your behalf, or even just with their own friends, and people say, "What do?" You want somebody who's just going to be so passionate and infectious when they talk to others. So that to me is the most important thing.
That works, and also just someone with integrity, with values that you share, because at this early stage, you don't want to really be investing in managing them per se. You want to know that they're going to come on board, have the passion to get the job done, and take it to the next level. So I definitely choose for character before skill.
I was just going to say, I also look for someone who's resourceful, who could really roll up their sleeves and, type something, mindless to, being out there at a party. But passion definitely number one, for sure.
Our next question.
Yes, Mr. Rosero, you mentioned something about connecting, with trying to emotionally tell a story. Well, what do you do, like, to connect with your potential seller, to sell your business? How do you connect with them emotionally? Do you tell a story and make them cry? I don't understand.
No, I don't tell them the story. What I try to have people see is I tell them a little bit about my story. I'm Latino. My parents were immigrants. They emigrated in 1960, and all 5 of my siblings and I went to college and grad school, and we're exceptions. And we are really, really lucky. And what I'm trying to do is take luck out of the equation for the other Latino population, other generation that's younger than me, so that they could go to school. So I connect both personal stories, but then I also, in my presentations, have data that show, really, so it's a combination of both.
Did you?
That was great.
So you all talked about the importance of relationships, and for those of us that may not be looking to start our business tomorrow, maybe medium long term, now that you are where you are today, could you kind of reverse engineer from a relationship perspective, if you had a few years to work on relationships, whether it be investors or supporters or clients, what kind of people would you look for and traits and things like that?
The kinds of people I'd look for. Well, it comes back to the mission statement, what you want to do. For myself, I initially started out doing project management in IT, and then it evolved to project management of educational products. And then I realized what I really enjoyed is actually creating the products themselves. And so our mission statement is around creating those educational products, the digital media, and then offering the management services as a plus. So really getting clear on what we wanted to do so that we can find the right people and deliver it. So that's what made a difference for us.
When I was first starting out, the biggest thing I wanted to do was raise some money. Where are all these investors? Like, I keep hearing all these thousands of angel investors in the world. Where are these people? Like, where do I just go down the street? Like, are you an angel investor? Like, and I would go to all these events and conferences, like trying to meet angel investors. And I realized, and it took me a couple years to realize this. The people that are best able to introduce you to angel investors, the people that know all the angel investors, are startup CEOs who have gone through the whole process, who have been rejected by 100 angel investors, for every 1 that they get or 3 that they get, but at least now have those relationships. And so when you ask them, you go on Angel List or somewhere where there's a list of angel investors, you're like, great, here's names, I don't know these people. Now you can look those people up on LinkedIn, and startup CEOs in common. Because if you focus on meeting startup CEOs first and building a relationship with them, that's how you're going to get those bridge introductions. So I would, in everywhere you can, whether it's at events, but also find an excuse to get to meet them. There's nothing more annoying than getting an email from some college student or grad student or somebody else that's like, hey, I love Brainscape. I'd love to have a coffee with you and chat and pick your brain. I was like, about what? I don't have time for. But it's like, hey, I have a specific idea, or even I want your advice about this specific thing. At least it's a specific reason. Sure, I'll jump on a 10-minute Google Hangout or a coffee or something like that. And then they ping me on LinkedIn, and I'm like, sure. And in 2 years, they're like, hey, remember that advice you gave me? Here's what I did. Now I'm raising money for investors. I see you know these 3 investors. Sure, I'll introduce you. So CEOs first. And it's not that hard to reach them.
And also applying to competitions. I did that a couple of times. That made a difference for me because I got to meet people who would invest in my company. Yeah.
That's a great segue. I would also recommend considering participating in accelerator programs because you meet other entrepreneurs that are because it's such a guttural, emotional kind of, you're trying to birth a baby when you're launching a startup, and other entrepreneurs get it because there's so many obstacles. But if you're hungry, you'll do it. And the way to kind of feed that hunger is also by being with other entrepreneurs. But in my case, what I would say, because Amapola is social venture, right? We want to change lives. And so in my case, I actually looked at the higher education landscape at trustees. So trustees are obviously giving money to institutions and they care about higher ed. And so my thing was connecting them to this huge population that exists and kind of teaching them about opportunities. So.
Okay, any other questions from this side? One more? Okay. Then we'll go to the other side.
Hi, Alex. This is maybe a very simple question, but maybe very important for very, very beginners. Like you have the habit to read something in the morning, like morning reading. So I'm wondering, what are your favorite education, the great source that you would recommend to the very beginners about to be informed of education industry and education app industry, as you mentioned.
So it all depends. So for me right now, highered.com, there's tons of blogs within that where you could break it up into education technology, entrepreneurship. There's a lot of, and that, from there, that kind of feeds out to different, I read everything from the New York Times to glossy magazines. I'm always, for me, that feeds my creativity. So I guess I'm reading, even friends' posts on Facebook. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, that's a really interesting kind of take. Let me do a little bit of research on that. So I think it's just immerse yourself in what you're interested, and then just do a little bit of research on that industry. What are those, key publications that people go to?